I don't in any way profess to be any good at painting. In fact, the last time I did any painting of minifigures, I was probably about 11 years old. So this is not a tutorial on how to paint minifigures. I have over here a Monoprice Mini Delta. These minifigures you see in front of you, these were printed on a Monoprice Mini Delta, but they were printed with a 0.4mm nozzle. Now, it is impressive that these figures were printed on a Monoprice Mini Delta, because as a printer it's not that well regarded. So to be able to get this level of detail is, to me, it's entirely unsurprising, because the Monoprice Mini Delta, it has the same components inside it as any other 3D printer. It has proper stepper motors inside it. It's got proper gearing. The only things it really has that cause problems is the scaling of the model. The long and short of it is, I think personally that the Mini Delta is ideal. I know that sounds weird, but I think it's ideal for printing miniatures. And that's why I'm going to try changing the nozzle. And here I have a 0.2mm nozzle, which is actually intended for an Ender 3, which I do own that printer, but I don't have any desire to change the nozzle on that for a 0.2. If you can see, the hot end assembly on the Mini Delta is probably just about anything but standard. So this is going to be really fun. Now, this isn't my first time opening up the Mini Delta, so I do kind of know how I take this thing apart. You are looking at the bottom of the hot end, and there's 3 screws. You need to undo these 3 screws. That's just the Velcro on my... Right, on the Velcro on my toolkit. Okay, 3 screws. Now, when you do this, the entire assembly will just completely fall out. Make sure your screwdriver is magnetic as well, by the way. The assembly has these nut holders, you know, the standard kind of things. It's kind of important not to lose the nuts out of those, because obviously you want to be able to put this thing back together without having to order a load of nuts. Right, so then once you've got these 3 screws out, the whole thing just comes out completely. Ideal. Okay, and now at this point that can go back there, and I can reposition the camera so you can see the hot end. Okay, I'm going to have to be very careful with this. In fact, one of the things that I want to do at some point is to repair this tape. As you can see, the tape has split. Not a massive deal, but obviously if it sticks to the print, you are going to be in trouble. Okay, so we have clip here and a similar one on the other side. Well, actually they're identical. You want to take these off. There's nothing special here. You can do it with a screwdriver or whatever. The only thing to make sure is to remember to put this part cooling fan here back exactly where it was, because it's not always, you know, it actually slides up and down. It's not always level on both sides. Sometimes you might have it a bit higher, and obviously the location of the part cooling fan is fairly critical. Right, so 2 clips come off. Now this is a trick with the Mini Delta. This is a trick. You would think that this connector here screws off, but you would be incorrect. This connector here is held in by this hex bolt here, and if you try and unscrew this connector with a spanner, yeah, you can sort of strip this. It kind of strips where this mounts on the. You'll see in a moment. So this nut here, it's kind of like a grub screw. This holds the, it's a heat brake, I believe it's called, and this here holds the pneumatic connector. So you need a small hex bolt for this part. So I'm getting my other screwdriver and try to find the correct one first time. Yeah, it's even smaller. I'm getting 1.5. I don't know. Okay, and so undo this. You can't see. Undo this bottom screw here. If you wanted to do any maintenance on the Bowden connector, you need to undo the top screw, and then this thing should just slide out. I'm saying this because I've not actually done this bottom bit before. It's actually a nut in there, by the way, so it's, you know, it's one of those slidey nuts. Right. Bear in mind you've got your thermistor in here. Just slide it forward enough that you can get, you know, a good grip on this when you come to, in a moment, heat it up. So at this point, another jump cut, because what I need to do is I need to apply power to the actual printer, because one of the tips that you really need to know is that you never change the nozzle when the hot end is cold. You change the nozzle when the hot end is at full temperature. There we go. It's kind of important to reposition this. Well, no, it's very important that you bear in mind that this thing's getting up to 200 degrees when you preheat it, so obviously treat it as such. You don't want to be messing about touching it more than you have to, because you just burn yourself, which you don't want to do. Right, okay, so the other end of this power supply now needs to be connected up. If you give me 1 second. There we go. In case you're wondering why it sounds different, I did actually do a tutorial on how to change the base fan. This unit was the one that had the replacement base fan on it. Right, now I'm going to have to go to the panel and preheat, so you can probably hear the fan. Yeah, I just hit the part cooling fan. It's not a big deal. It will survive that. Right. Yeah. The problem was, the reason why I suddenly had to have a jump cut to an adjustable spanner there was because, in spite of the fact that I have every size spanner known to mankind, it seems like the nozzle diameter is a non-standard size. I think it's about 6.5 or 5.5 mil. 6.5 mil. It doesn't fit 8. Doesn't fit an 8. And it doesn't fit a 6. Oh, I suppose it's 7. I just don't have a 7. It's a 7mm socket. So yeah, if you don't have a 7 socket, you're going to have to get an adjustable spanner out. Which, you know, whatever. Right, now I'm waiting for it to cool down a bit before I touch it. But kind of thinking that now it's... You see, the thing is, I have to do all this without damaging this. So I'll wait until it's fully cooled down and then I'll change it. The only way to know what temperature it's actually at is to take it from the thermistor. So I'll turn this back on and go to the preheat tab, and yeah, it's still 148 degrees C. Yeah, I don't really want to be touching that, do I? 148 degrees C. So we continue. We wait. So there will be a cut to this when it's a bit cooler and a bit more done. Worth mentioning that it's a good idea. I'll point with a spanner. Since you've got this off, this filament here, you will need to remove it. The best idea would be to remove all the filament before you actually start the project, but unfortunately it's snapped off inside, so I'm kind of doing a 2-in-1 here, where I will also be removing the filament from inside here, which is what I got the pliers out for. Come on. There we go. Ooh. Bit of smoke there. Is that a bit of... Yeah, so just wondering what was making the smoke. So I just pull this whole line of filament. That's an easy way to get your filament out, isn't it? So I'm basically just waiting for this thing to cool down now. So point the fan at it a bit, might speed it up. Okay, so we're now cool enough. One thing to note is that it will tighten itself up again, so you'll still need the spanner, because it's cold now. It doesn't want to come out of there. There we go. Also, it's not entirely unlikely that you won't have... Interesting. It's not entirely likely that you won't have... I don't know if you can see that gunk in the filament in the nozzle. It seems pretty normal inside there. You see that? Right. Yeah, never let it be said that changing a nozzle is easy, because it's deceptively hard. You think you're just unscrewing one thing and screwing another in. On any printer, you are working against heat, various other variables. Now, what I'm going to do, I'll reinsert that a little bit. I might be able to get it all the way, actually. The thing is, right, now interestingly, I don't know if these wires really want to be hot. I guess they are okay with heat, but I kind of feel like they, yeah, shouldn't be touching. Yeah, the two wires at the back there, that's what I'm talking about. But there's no other way for this to go in here, so I guess they are sort of okay. Right, the throat of the heat break which is the long tube there, needs to butt right up. Excuse me one moment. I think I mentioned in a previous video I'm allergic to dust. Dust is everywhere. Right, yeah, they've got to butt up against the PTFE tube segment at the top here. That's the most important thing. And then you're looking at screwing this nut back in. It's quite annoying because it does that a lot. It's just come out and it's fine, you just get it back in again. And it doesn't really matter where you screw that on, it's just holding it in place. Now note that the nozzle, I'll tighten it up as much as I can, so I'm not massively concerned. You've got to make sure there's no gap, because PLA will hide in any gaps if you don't get it on tight enough. But it is a nearly impossible task, given that you can't get the spanner anywhere near it. Right. Just get that thing straight. Yeah, it is absolutely imperative. Do you see there? You see there where the this tube meets a PTFE piece of tube there? If any gaps in there, and PLA will ooze into them. So you want that to butt right up, completely flush, and then some. Okay. Note that this nozzle is slightly longer, so it does stick out the bottom a bit. I'm not concerned with that at all either. Right, it's time to try and repair the Kapton tape. Now the stuff I'm replacing it with is, I'll link it in the video if I remember to. If I don't, it's just standard Kapton, it's called, it's not actually the brand name, tape. I'm just trying to wrestle the package open. You just have to cut it to shape, because it's already got a hole in it. So this is a multi-pack of like 1 million, well, no, 4 4 different sizes. I think I might actually try and use this size, because then I can put one this size, yeah, maybe this size, because then I can kind of wrap it round and just repair the existing tape, and then there's less tape on there. This is going to be quite the difficult task though. I've tried this before, and this stuff, apart from the fact that the smell is incredibly strong, and I'm trying to describe this smell, I will try and describe this smell. It smells like incense sticks. It's really strange. I've had it before. I had another reel, and that smelled of incense sticks. And I thought, oh, you know, did the guy keep it in a warehouse with incense sticks? I don't know. But no, this one also smells extraordinarily like incense sticks. Right, I'm just going to trim that. This one sticks a bit better actually. So yeah, just trim it down. It's just that I'm just trying to repair it, because if the whole thing comes off, then, you know, it's a free ticket to Pain Town. So just repair it, and hopefully it'll be absolutely serviceable still. Let's do that back there. How much of this is all off camera. That's fine. I'm just putting the Kapton tape over the existing Kapton tape, And I'm going to get a bit of the thicker stuff and stick that there. What I'm going to do is zoom out a bit so that you're getting everything, and then all I'm doing is I'm repairing the Kapton tape at the side here. And then it's called it's called Kapton, which is obviously a knockoff Kapton. And I'm having incredible trouble just trying to get into the tape, which is ridiculous really, but it's because it is incredibly thin stuff. And of course I've got gloves on and I'm refusing to remove these gloves because dust. My allergy to dust. Right, I don't know why they've put this stupid paper under. So what use is that? Is to indicate to you where the roll doesn't start. Right. What I need here. I actually have what I need. Yeah, there we go. Right. Okay. Cut that off. Stick it on there. Okay, now we've got actual Kapton tape. I'm just gonna basically stick that over there. Just over that bit there. And all I'm doing is just patching it up, and then I'll cut it. And kind of stick it around, just patching up the cracks, and then hopefully that will stave off the need to replace it, because I mean you absolutely can get the replacements of these things, or you can replace it with a silicone sock if you're feeling extra adventurous, like the Ender 3 has a silicone sock. But honestly, just repair it right now and you might get, you know, like 6 months, a year out of it just by repairing it. There we go. I'll just stick that around that. I'm trying not to put any of the tape on the bare because it's an inch. What it is, I believe it's a mineral wool insulator, and then it's covered in the Kapton tape, and this keeps the hot end. It keeps the hot end warm, because if the hot end can't maintain the temperature, then you get inconsistent prints. So, long story short, the Kapton tape will actually be cooler than the hot end, so I don't want the Kapton tape directly touching the hot end because it probably will smell. And I am actually going to open the window before I turn it on the first time as well, because apparently it smells anyway, and I can imagine it does with that incense. It's really strange incense smell that it has. Right, okay, as you can see, we are all done. So what's left to do is essentially reassembly, which I shall do straight away, and that involves, that's better, that involves turning the thing off, getting these pegs back on. This is where it's important to remember where your cooling fan was, I think. Yeah, about both sides. Okay, so I did find the spring in the end. The reason I feel the reason I appear exasperated about it is because it took probably about an hour to find the spring, and of course it was under my chair, so let's get this thing back together. Can you see what I'm doing there? Yeah, about that way. So basically nothing weird or spectacular here. I'm just putting these back on, both of them. With the part cooling fan on in the right place. And then after that, you have to remember which way this thing goes. It's keyed in. You can't get it wrong. You can't get it wrong. So then you just screwing it back in, and make sure your captive nuts. You probably can't see, but there are captive nuts here, here, and here. And your screws have to go into those, otherwise there's nothing for them to screw into. So do be sure they're still present. And that, literally that. By the way, it's probably worth mentioning before I finish up here. In fact, I'm actually going to go and get it. While I was tidying up, I noticed that my Ender 3, let me get my big spanner out again. Ugh. Big spanner. I noticed that the Ender 3 came with what looks suspiciously like a pack of spanners for presumably nozzles, and I'm guessing, are we in focus enough there? Probably. No. Highly ironic if they gave me a bunch of spanners and none of them are actually for the nozzle. No, they're not. So the take home here, yeah, that just doesn't fit at all, even though these are Ender 3 nozzles. The take home here is, find yourself a spanner that is, I think, 7mm. I think we're going to have to call it a day there, because the battery, it took me so long to do this, the battery on my light has gone. And so, yeah. It's a success because I've managed to replace it, but obviously get yourself a magnetic dish and a spanner and it will make the job a whole lot easier. That's it. I hope it was of some use. The next video will be of me printing and the settings, presuming that I haven't broken the printer. I don't think I have. Yeah, because obviously now I've got a 0.2mm nozzle, so I'm going to do some experimentation and then I'll do a video on the results from that. So yeah, make sure you look out for that video, because I think we might get some good results. Okay, that's it from me. Cheers for watching.